hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah
on Pulse 95.
Today is a good day, and I'm going to keep saying that, especially since I have a big celebration to also commemorate that. If you want to know what it is, you know what you need to do. Stay tuned to the Afternoon Karak. This is Aisha Al-Mazmi going solo for a little bit longer until Mikhail is back, and the dynamic duo, the Dream Team, will be back again. Yesterday, there were actually two big award shows, and we're going to be talking about one of them, not the VMAs. We're going to be talking about the Emmys and the latest winners. There were some surprises, some pleasant surprises to say the least. Cannot wait to talk about that. We do have a DCEU rumor. The Batman will reportedly get a Penguin spinoff on HBO Max, which is very interesting. Do we support that? I think I kind of do. I'd like to see more of Matt Reeves' world and Matt Reeves' Batman, so why not a Penguin spin-off? I was going to be talking about some sort of controversy about an upcoming CBS competition series. Now, the series is going to be called The Activist, and yes, it is exactly what it sounds like, and it kind of has a ridiculous premise, and people are not that happy, neither am I, because I feel like it's kind of unnecessary. But they did release a statement kind of trying to fix it and trying to explain what the show was going to be about. But the judges, or the panel of celebrities that are going to be joining on that game show, are Usher, Priyanka Chopra, and so much more. Guys, you know what to do. Stay tuned and stay locked to Pulse 95 4215 Etisalat Urdu. Would love to hear from you. Keep me company as I keep you company from 4 p.m. till 5 p.m. only here on Pulse 95.
What's the date?
What's the date?
What's the date?
What are we celebrating today?
Apparently, all the way back in 2003, yes, it is all the way back. It's not that close anymore. But all the way back in 2003, an American entrepreneur decided to choose today, the 13th of September, and use it as a way to help people remember the good things in their lives and the good things that they can do. Hence why he named it, or decided to call it, Positive Thinking Day. So happy Positive Thinking Day. I think it is a very important and a much needed thing, especially with the things that have been happening in the past year and a half, if not, even longer than that. People have been going through a lot of things for God knows how long, lots of ups and downs, and that can take a toll on anybody's mentality, anybody's way of thinking, anything basically. So why is it important to think positively? Well, being optimistic always helps, and I know a lot of people would think that being pessimistic is actually better because it lowers your expectations. True, to an extent, I agree with you. However, at the same time, I believe that as much as pessimistic as you are, you're only gonna actually just attract negative energy, and I'm not saying it in a very mystical kind of point of view. I mean, literally, being a pessimist is only going to make the people around you as pessimistic. They're going to make them upset. You're also going to end up looking at everything in such a dark manner that you're not going to enjoy things anymore. So yes, it's going to bring down your expectations, but at what cost? That is the true question that you should be asking yourself. You can simultaneously lower your expectations and also remain positive. There is no need for you to be a negative person. You could always try your best to find the silver lining in many things out there. For example, like I was talking about last week about my thing with the donuts. Now let me just run you guys quickly about my donuts issues. The usual first world problems. What usually happens is that I would pass by a Dunkin' Donuts that is close to work, and I would go and get myself my favorite type of donut. And more often than not, I cannot find my favorite flavor simply because it is very popular, and my favorite one is Choco Frosted. So I'd pass by and I'd ask the person, I'm like, hi, can I get a Choco Frosted donut? They'd be like, just a moment, ma'am. They go check and they come back and I never find one. And it has happened way too many times that I ended up thinking that, do I have bad luck? Am I like what is going on here? Why can I never ever find my favorite donut? But I have to just pause for a moment. Again, I know this is first world problems, and I'm just using it as an example for you guys. But it was true that I had to pause for a moment and be like, so what if I can't get my favorite donut, right? It's not the end of the world. And I know that there are worse things to worry about. There are a lot of things that are happening in a lot of your lives. Some of you guys might have lost your jobs. Maybe some of you have had big changes, some issues with your friends, your family, your spouse, your work relationships, all kind of things that might bring you down really, really badly. But I think I am a very optimistic person in the sense that I always believe that there is always a way for something good to break through among all these dark and rainy clouds. Although I do love rainy weather, but that aside, maybe I used a bad metaphor. But my point is, like, amongst that, those negative emotions, that feeling down, etc., there is always ways to find some small things. The other day, I was really, really upset about something that has happened to my life very recently, and I was gonna go over to a family member's house, gonna go meet my cousins, and in the process, while I was going there, I passed by another shop, a local shop, to get some snacks with me before I go there, and I don't know, just the way the salespeople were talking to me, they were offering me some sweets. Actually, one of them followed me to the next shop to offer me some of their freebies, some kind of snacks. And that was, for some reason, that just kind of left a spark in me, made me a little bit happier. It just made me realize that just the small things, those are just signs. Those are just ways that can slowly bring you up, no matter how hard it is, no matter how badly you've been hurt or how long you've been sitting in rock bottom. There are always ways to climb out of it, or at least just take a break and take a breather and just enjoy what is happening around you. There is always ways to be positive, always ways to be a little bit more optimistic, no matter what happens, because the reality of things is that life continues. I've said this many times, that life moves on. Life will not wait for you. So that's why you need to move on with life. But in that process, life also makes it up for you in many, many ways. It might start off small, and those small things are worthy of turning that frown upside down, as they say, in the most cliched ways possible. But also, in a way, it can also brighten up your day or your week or your month. Who knows? So, happy positive thinking day. What are ways do you incorporate positive thinking? What are the ways that you look around and say, I am grateful for what I have, and I'm grateful for what I can have in the next couple of weeks, months, and years? Because like I said, life moves on, and you'll also move on, and we'll be moving on to greener pastures. 4215 Itisalat Urdu. I would love to hear from you. We move on to our next big discussion, and that is The Activist. It's an upcoming competition sort of thing from CBS that has garnered a lot of negative emotions, a lot of chat all over the internet, and CBS has recently released a statement about this show. Let's talk about it. Is it worth it? What is going on? Or is it too gimmicky? Coming up next, right here on the Afternoon Karak.
Make a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah
on Pulse 95.
I feel like perhaps Hollywood has tired out the song competition trope, and I've moved on to something very interesting, and it is basically activism in The Activist. Now, The Activist is going to be a competition from CBS and from Global Citizen. It's going to be starring Usher, Priyanka Chopra, and Julianne Hough. Basically, what is going to happen is that the competition will feature 6 inspiring activists teamed with the 3 high-profile public figures to work together to bring meaningful change to one of 3 vitally important world causes that are health, education, and environment. And they will go head-to-head in challenges to promote their causes, and their success is going to be measured via online engagement, social metrics, and the host's input. And eventually, the ultimate goal is for them to create an impactful peaceful movement that will amplify their message, and the winner is going to advance them to the G20 summit in Rome, Italy. Okay, so when I first heard that, all I can think of was that felt incredibly gimmicky. That is it. Like, how on earth would you turn something as important and as big as activism, especially when it comes to all these topics that were mentioned, that such as health, education, and environment, that are a big part of a lot of places, right? And it's much needed, especially when we talk about the environment, climate change, education around the world. There are a lot of little girls who are basically taken out of school. They've never had any sort of education and health, especially during a pandemic, etc. And when we're talking about the vaccine gap, etc. So those are some very big and important topics that we need to focus on. And they somehow managed to turn it into some sort of show. So it's not a surprise that a ton of people on the internet are not very happy. And these are one of the times when this angry mob actually has a point. Like, what is exactly going on? What made those people think that, yes, this is the right thing. This is exactly what we need during this time. Honestly, it seems a little bit ironic and very funny, but Global Citizen actually came up with an updated statement, and they basically try to clarify or clear up what exactly the activist is about. And this is, I'm going to quote them directly. They say the activist spotlights individuals who have made it their life's work to change the world for the better, as well as the incredible and often challenging work they do on the ground in their communities. And the spokesperson said, this is not a reality show to trivialize activism. On the contrary, our aim is to support activists everywhere, show the ingenuity and dedication they put into their work, and amplify their causes to an even wider audience. Still, doesn't add anything. In my opinion, all it did is just kind of clarify the synopsis, and they're kind of saying, hey, we're not trying to find random people. We're just trying to find people who are already established within the world of activism in the first place. So, okay, this is I don't think a lot of people, misjudge that from the beginning. But at the same time, it's just, it feels like a gimmick. That's all I can say. And I think even with this clarification, it makes absolutely no difference to a lot of people. And it just shows that perhaps sometimes Hollywood is out of touch, and perhaps Hollywood did not learn from last year's Imagine video that was happening literally in the middle or the peak of the first wave of the pandemic, when a lot of people were terrified and scared, and there were a lot of changes happening. Meanwhile, Hollywood were singing Imagine and just putting it out there, even though they were living their best lives in comparison to many people out there. I know I was talking about positive thinking, but I don't find much positivity over here, especially since we know that when it comes to those competition shows, it's more often than not that there is something that is being commodified rather than something that is being highlighted. But we just need to wait and see as usual. We're going to be taking a short break, and coming up next is that Batman and the Penguin spinoff rumor. We're going to be talking about the winners of the Emmy last night, coming up next right here on the Afternoon Karak.
Speculation, gossip, or hoax. Rumor has it.
Rumor has it that Warner Brothers is eyeing on creating an very expansive franchise on the upcoming Batman, created by none other than Matt Reeves and starring Robert Pattinson, because we're already getting a Gotham PD series that is going to be a spinoff. And although it is part of the DCEU, we also, if you guys remember, that the DCEU is sort of kind of a disjointed multiverse right now, with a lot of stories happening separately in their own universes. So it makes sense that perhaps Warner Brothers wants to maybe capitalize on this series and delve deeper into the origins of Batman, and perhaps in particular onto a very well-known villain, and that is the Penguin himself. Now, we know that Colin Farrell is going to be appearing in the upcoming Batman movie as the Penguin, as Oswald Cobblepot. However, according to some sources, we know that this is happening, but we also don't know if Colin is going to be reprising his role as the Penguin in that series. So there are two parts to this rumor. Part one is, again, the Penguin is getting his own spin-off after the movie premieres, which honestly, in my opinion, is a 50-50 thing, even though the sources haven't named themselves. And according to this article, they are the same people who basically announced that Ben Affleck is going to be a part of The Flash, the upcoming Flash movie, way before it was officially announced. So according to them, they are a reliable source. But that aside, in terms of looking at it from, a wider picture, I feel like that is, it is something that can happen. It is a viable thing. I can definitely see this possibly being written right now. Maybe it's in pre-production in terms of writing down a script, gathering the vision of the entire story, because if that is the case, it will need to link together with the Batman series as well. Batman movie. So this is part one, which again, in conclusion, in my opinion, it is possibly happening, 50-50 chance. The second part of the rumor is, which story are they going to focus on? Are they going to be talking about the Penguin? Are they going to be focusing on his early life before he became the notorious villain that is the Penguin? Or is it going to be something similar to what is happening with the Suicide Squad and what is happening with John Cena's character, the Peacemaker, that it basically picks off right after the end of that movie, and we're going to see him going on doing his crazy villainous things. So it is very interesting. I honestly kind of lean towards the prequel side. I believe it's most likely going to be a prequel rather than it being some sort of sequel, or they're continuing their story. But I feel like maybe perhaps missing out on Colin as the Penguin is going to be a missed opportunity. So maybe perhaps it can expand on a story in a sequel rather than a prequel. Who knows, guys? I mean, it just depends on Matt Reeves' vision and what he believes is going to be the correct thing and the right thing for this series, or let's say Matt Reeves' universe, DC universe. And again, it is part of the many self-contained universes in the multiverse that is DCEU. Text me 4215 Itisalat or do tell me, where do you guys stand on this? Are you on my side? Do you believe that this is something that could be happening? Honestly, I wouldn't even say it's a 50-50 chance. I'm leaning maybe towards 65%, 60% as in it is happening, because it would be smart of DC to expand that way, especially since, yes, the whole story, the original story of the Justice League is kind of moving on, with Aquaman 2 happening right now, with James Wan showing us behind the scene pictures every once in a while, and The Flash is happening, but beyond that, we're not really sure what is happening. We also know, obviously, there's Shazam 2 and Black Adam, and how does that connect with the original story? And, if they're going to be expanding this way, why don't they expand this way as well and capitalize on Matt Reeves' vision, especially since we're getting a first look into the beginnings of Batman, the beginnings perhaps of many villains as well. And that is a take we haven't really seen on the big screen. I don't believe we ever saw it on the big screen, perhaps in the animated series and obviously in the comics, but again, translated into a movie, I don't think that has happened ever before. We're going to be taking a short break, and coming up next, I'm going to be talking about none other than the Emmys, but not the main Emmys, because there are basically a subcategory to it. We're going to be talking about it coming up next right here on the Afternoon Karak, so stay tuned. And also text me 4215 Salat, or do tell me, how are you celebrating Positive Thinking Day? How do you think positively? How do you look positively and optimistically at your life? How do you find that silver lining? 4215 Itisalat or do.
Make a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak. Mazmi and Mikhail Attia.
On Pulse 95.
When we say the Emmys, obviously we're all talking about the various TV shows that, have been outstanding throughout the year and are awaiting to be awarded one of the most well-known accolades out there. Again, the Emmys. However, today I'm not going to be talking about the typical Emmys because the Emmy ceremonies that we usually are accustomed to, that's going to be happening on the 19th of September. So that's happening within a couple of days, next week to be precise. I'm going to be talking about the event that precedes it, and that is the Creative Arts Emmy Awards. And what are the Creative Arts Emmy Awards? But none other. Basically, those are the Emmys that are awarded to people behind the scenes. This is given to the, VFX team. We've got the hairstylists, cinematographers, etc. It's also about the music, the songs, and all that. So it's all about appreciating the team that brought out all these well-known TV shows to life. What is interesting is that sometimes, more often than not, we got some unexpected winners over here. I mean, first of all, we've got none other than WandaVision winning several awards, including one for its well-known song for the original score, and that is It Was Agatha All Along. And that is kind of a spoiler if you haven't watched WandaVision yet, but some of the awards also include Outstanding Cinematography for a Single Camera Series, and for that, The Mandalorian Episode 15 or Chapter 15, and that is the winner of this category. We also have Outstanding Cinematography for a Single Camera Series, 1 hour. So that's how deep, and that is exactly also how specific they get. And for that, we've got The Crown. So we've got the well-known names winning here and there, like again, The Mandalorian. We've got The Crown, and what is interesting, we also have costumes that goes to Pose from Netflix. Also, Pose gets Outstanding Contemporary Hairstyling, and there is Outstanding Contemporary Hairstyling for a variety, non-fiction, or reality program, and this is where Saturday Night Live gets several of its Emmys. Not one, I believe it was 2 or 3 of them. So it's very interesting. Like I said, it was all those TV shows that you would not necessarily see in basically being nominated for the Emmys, especially since we get very into the nitty-gritty over here, because sometimes it is a single episode that is nominated and not necessarily the entire show. So it's very interesting. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really know much about the Creative Arts Emmys before. I've heard about them, but we kind of forget about how important those kind of awards can be. Even during the Academy Awards, more often than not, we tend to skip out or tune out whenever they start talking about the makeup, hairstyling, the audio editing, and all of those categories that are, according to a lot of people, are not that important. But honestly, if you remove those things, or if they were lackluster, you're all gonna notice them and you're not gonna enjoy them at all. Saturday Night Live, and to be particular, the Elon Musk episode also won Outstanding Contemporary Makeup for a variety. It is basically winning left and right. Same goes for Pose, and it's not surprising that Netflix is getting a lot of those wins and basically sweeping a lot of those categories, because even the Queen's Gambit was nominated and has won a couple of Emmys in the Creative Arts Emmys, and same goes for Bridgerton. I mean, it's a well-known show. A lot of people were enjoying it. WandaVision also won Outstanding Fantasy Sci-Fi Costume, which honestly was kind of interesting, especially noting that The Umbrella Academy, The Mandalorian, Lovecraft County, and The Handmaid's Tale were also nominated. If it was up to me, I would have probably given it to The Mandalorian, simply because there wasn't much happening with WandaVision for me to be like, yes, this is the sort of costume that I'm very much interested in, but it's not that bad. It was still it still deserves it, especially since more often than not, superhero TV shows, I mean, this is a whole new category, even though, yes, CW does have a lot of superhero TV shows, but in terms of superhero TV shows or even superhero movies are often just kind of swept to the side when it comes to those big primetime TV show, what do you call them? Basically those kind of award shows. Like even when it comes to the Oscars, it was very surprising when Black Panther was also winning a couple, or at least being nominated for some things all the way back when it was first announced. We were celebrating Positive Thinking Day earlier in the hour, and we do have a text from Cloud. He says, or she says, I'm not sure. They say, hey Aisha, happy Positive Thinking Day. I usually just see how far I've come throughout my life and never look back. That is a very good idea. Always push the best version of yourself and be with the people you love. That'll make your life easier, and I'm grateful for that. I learned of virtuous ease. Those are some big words that we can all learn from. So once again, happy positive thinking, and do not be sad. Yes, the afternoon karak is ending, keeping on that positive feel. We do have Yalla Home kicking off from 5 p.m. till 8 p.m. Big Has and Anna Schofield keeping you guys company throughout the evening. And also to commemorate WandaVision and them winning some of their first awards ever. You know, we enjoyed that TV show, Mikhail and I. Here is Agatha All Along, which also won an Emmy. So, guys, take care, be good, and as usual, be optimistic and find that silver lining. See you guys, well, listen to you guys and chat to you guys tomorrow. Same time, same vibes, only here on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of Afternoon Karak, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.